Sisters and brothers, the Lord never ceases to amaze me. At this point, it doesn't really surprise me when I'm surprised. But I didn't look at the opening prayer before Mass, and it just spoke perfectly to what I came here to talk to you about today. That we may live as Christ did, for through the healing paschal remedies you have conformed us to his nature. It's a strange thing. What do we mean to be conformed to his nature? You've heard me say before that we Christians are weird. But I'd like to qualify that and say that the only reason that we Christians are weird is because in general, we humans are weird. It's almost like we're foreigners, like we don't belong here in some ways. We're different. And so it shouldn't be surprising that our answers are different. But first, I'd like to point out something in the gospel. Jesus can seem a bit esoteric at times, right? What do you mean? It's confusing. And you could see even his closest apostles follow him for years, and it takes a while for them to really understand what he's trying to say. A perfect example is what we see in the gospel today. Jesus has performed this incredible miracle, one that harkens back to the time in the desert with Moses. An incredible miracle of feeding the multitude of people. And so obviously people are amazed, aren't they? And who among us, seeing something like that, wouldn't want to go and see it again? And so they are desperately looking for, where did he go? Where did he go? And they finally find him, and they ask him an obvious question: how did you get here? And he doesn't even answer their question. He speaks to something as if he knows what's going on in their hearts. He doesn't respond to what they say. He responds to what's in their heart. He says, "You come to me not because you saw signs, but because you ate the bread and were filled." What? What do you mean? Obviously, they saw something, didn't they? They saw an incredible miracle, otherwise they wouldn't be going out of their way to try and find him. So what do you mean, Jesus, that you didn't see signs? We did. But did they? It's interesting. In John's gospel, he makes a point of showing how the miracles are signs. They're meant to point us to something that is not obvious, something that we must learn and come to realize, that it's not about the miracle itself, but rather those are signs of power to demonstrate who Jesus is and what he is inviting us into. I said earlier that we human beings are weird. It's almost like we are strangers in this place. Almost like we're pilgrims, strangers in a strange land. And I'll like to make this point by inviting you to do something, all right? So humor me for a second. I want you to close your eyes, all right? Take a deep breath, just relax. Now, I'm just going to invite you for a moment to offer to God whatever you're thinking and feeling today. What would you like to say to God? And say it to him now. All right. You could open your eyes now. I hope that was a nice moment for you. And it was an intimate moment, I hope. But I'm going to ask you a question, and you don't have to raise your hands or anything. But how many of you spoke to God and used words? I know I always do. It's interesting, isn't it? Something that we don't even think about. It's as natural to us as the air we breathe, like a fish in water. That even in the most intimate place between you and God, your Creator, you use words. Strange. And yet so familiar to us. After all, I say it's strange because words do not come from ourselves, do they? There's something that we learn over time. There's something that are given to us. You know, if I were to pluck one of you and throw you over to the other side of the world and you found yourself in a place where they speak an entirely different language, it would feel like you don't belong there. Like it's almost impossible for you to be a full member of that community because you do not have the words. You do not have the language. It's almost as if you're not even there. Strange, isn't it? That we have to become who we are by receiving something from somebody else. That even in the most intimate place of me and God, I rely on something that was given to me. Something that did not come from myself. You know, I had a dog when I was growing up. I had a little cute basset hound. And I had her since she was a tiny little puppy, and we didn't have any other basset hounds. And yeah, as she got older and we established a relationship with one another, and then I went off to college. The first time that I came back, I had been gone for months, and when I was driving up the driveway, she could smell me. And immediately I heard, nobody had to teach her that. She knew it instinctively. It was who she was. You know, birds don't have to learn how to be birds, do they? And dogs, I imagine when they're curled up at your foot as you're by the fireside, aren't pondering their existence and their purpose in life. They don't have to go beyond themselves to understand themselves. This is what I mean by human beings are weird. The most intimate and most powerful things about us are foreign. They have to be learned. A child takes so long just to even learn those first words, Papa, Mama. They have to be taught to walk. They have to be taught to be who they are. Human beings are the only creatures that ask the question, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? It's almost as if we were plucked from where we belong and we found ourselves here and now are desperately searching for the answer. You know, you'll hear many people who seem to think that faith is instinctive, as if Jesus came here to just remind us of things that we already knew. Be nice to one another. Don't fight with one another. You know, be comfortable and peaceable. But Jesus is something entirely different than that. Jesus is coming to show us where we belong. He's coming to teach us a new language. And it takes time. It takes familiarity. It means listening and observing. It means being willing to be formed by your teacher, to recognize that the truth is something outside yourself, but yet it is still very real, and he is offering it to us. And so this is what John means when he says that Jesus performed signs. He did things to wake people up, to let them recognize that there is something more here, something that is not instinctive, something that you do not know on your own, something that must be given to you. Namely, that he is the very Word of God, come to teach us the language of God's love. And he has come to feed our hungry hearts with his word that is the bread of life. And so, sisters and brothers, this is what it means to be a follower of Jesus. It means to recognize that we are strangers in a strange land, that we are pilgrims on a journey, seeking ever more ways to learn from his word, to be fed by the food that he gives us, to become a new creation, to become like angels. As the people looked on and saw Stephen, they recognized that there was something different here, something that could not be expected, something new. Sisters and brothers, the Lord is encouraging us to constantly be coming to him to be fed. Read his scriptures. Listen to his words. Spend time in prayer with him like a little child trying to learn how to speak. Come, follow him, and become a new creation.